5 News at Noon starts now.
House Republicans clear a key hurdle as debate begins on the president's massive spending bill with an aggressive July 4th target to get it done. And federal budget cuts are taking a toll on local support services. We'll hear from a senator in Fort Smith about the impact. Well, thank you for joining us for your 5 News at Noon. I'm Morgan Wrigley here with meteorologist Danny Cassidy on 4th of July Eve.
Yes.
Otherwise known as July 3rd.
Yes.
And sounds like we're still, fingers crossed, for a good day tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not looking too shabby out there. It's your pretty typical summer weather. It could be a lot worse. We could have severe weather, 100-degree weather. We're not going to have either of that, but just some spotty showers to keep an eye on. We'll show you what's going on right now across the region. We'll go over Fayetteville and downtown. 87 degrees there. A lot of puffy cumulus clouds there, kind of in the sky, but some blue sky mixing in as well. It feels like 90 degrees. I do point a little bit higher than earlier this morning. As we talked about, that moisture is going to increase throughout the day today into the day tomorrow, whereas the River Valley was really only the muggy this morning. It is now more a little bit widespread. But in terms of widespread, we're seeing a lot of sunshine, especially in the northeast. A little bit more cloud cover in the River Valley there. That's keeping things a little bit cooler. And there was a little bit of rain in southern LaFleur County, but you notice it's kind of diminishing. It's hitting some of that dry air and just not a lot of forcing to keep that going. So with that cloud cover, as I mentioned, Poteau and Salsa only at 81 degrees there. Meanwhile, Ozark at 89, a little bit more sunshine. Fayetteville at 87. Otherwise, across the board there, mid 80s, really, pretty much across all of the region. Now, in terms of this afternoon, high temperatures will be in the upper 80s and low 90s. Well, partly cloudy skies, maybe a stray shower chance, but most of us should stay dry, and that will be the theme pretty much for tomorrow, for 4th of July. And the question is, are those fireworks going to be dry? For the most part, they should be. We'll talk about that further coming up in just a little bit. Morgan.
Thanks, Danny. Well, new at noon, former Rogers doctor Brian Hyatt, who was accused of Medicaid fraud, is now behind bars once again. Hyatt was jailed for DWI and other related charges as he awaits a ruling in an ongoing Medicaid fraud case. This comes as prosecutors in that fraud case are asking for stricter release conditions, pointing to other times he's been accused of intoxication-related offenses. The judge is scheduled to rule on the motion on July 11th. Well, in Chicago, a mass shooting outside a nightclub has left at least 4 people dead and 14 wounded. Police say this happened Wednesday night in a drive-by shooting. So far, no arrests have been made. Right now, we know that 4 of the injured are in serious to critical condition. Police say a dark SUV drove past the Artist Lounge nightclub where 3 people fired shots into a crowd of people standing outside. The same block was also the scene of a mass shooting in 2022 with 1 person killed and 3 wounded. An investigation into the shooting remains ongoing as police continue to search for the 3 shooters. Well, President Trump's sweeping tax and spending bill is nearing its final vote. It passed a key procedural vote overnight. Willie James Inman has the latest from the White House.
Mr. Speaker, I'm here to take my sweet time on behalf of the American people.
For hours this morning, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries spoke on the House floor in an effort to hold up the final vote on President Trump's signature legislation.
Everyday Americans will be hurt by the one big ugly bill.
The motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Overnight, the massive budget bill made it through a key procedural vote after several Republicans who had been against the changes the Senate made to the legislation overcame their opposition and voted yes.
House Speaker Mike Johnson credited President Trump's involvement for getting the GOP holdouts to come around.
He helped answer questions and articulate his vision and what this bill will mean for the country.
Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill boosts border security and ICE enforcement, increases defense spending, and extends his 2017 tax cuts. That includes an increase to the child tax credit, a $1,000 savings account for newborns, plus no taxes on tips and overtime pay.
The hardworking families of America are hungry for this kind of change. Take power away from Washington, give it back to the people, and watch what happens. Great things.
But it also implements new work requirements and other changes to safety net programs, including SNAP, the Food Assistance Program, and Medicaid. The Congressional Budget Office estimates the Medicaid cuts alone could total roughly $930 billion, with at least 11.8 million people at risk of losing their health coverage. Willie James Inman, CBS News, the White House.
If this bill passes, many tax cuts and credits would take effect as soon as this year. But some, like the no tax on tips or overtime provisions, would only be temporary. Many of the changes to Medicaid and food assistance would be phased in over the coming years. Well, Brian Koberger, the man charged in the murders of 4 University of Idaho students, admitted to the crimes in court Wednesday before formally entering a guilty plea. The plea is part of a deal he made with prosecutors, which spares him from the death penalty. Koberger, who has yet to provide a motive for the murders, faces up to 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Well, healthcare providers are sounding the alarm over major proposed changes to Arkansas's Medicaid program. They warn these changes could disrupt coverage for thousands of vulnerable patients and strain local clinics already stretched thin. The Arkansas Nurses Association spent part of last week lobbying against the Medicaid plans in the bill. It calls for new work requirements and a freeze on something called provider taxes. Both will affect hospital budgets and the nurses who work in those hospitals.
Roughly a third of our state is on Medicaid and stand to potentially be affected by any kind of cuts. And some of the cuts could be something as simple as they're putting a pause on some of the provider taxes, meaning there's no increase. We may see providers shut their doors. We may see hospitals shut their doors because financially they just can no longer survive.
The House voted Wednesday to begin debate on a bill proposing Medicaid cuts. More details are expected as the discussion is underway. Well, state public safety officials are preparing to face tough questions about convicted murderer Grant Hardin's prison escape. A date is now set for them to publicly address how the escape happened and what changes are being made to prevent something like this from happening again. Hardin managed to walk out of the North Central unit in Calico Rock by wearing a fake law enforcement uniform. 7 top corrections officials, including the state prison director and warden, will testify before lawmakers next week on July 10th. Federal and state search teams caught the escaped rapist and killer 2 weeks later, just a mile from the prison. Well, a Fort Smith nonprofit is starting to feel a slight pinch of state and federal grant cutbacks. The Crisis Intervention Center has gone from more than $650,000 a year in a Victims of Crime Act grant to less than $200,000. Executive Director Penny Burns says these cuts don't have anything to do with recent DOJ decisions. She says it all has to do with less money being collected into that victims grant.
There's no tax dollars involved in VOCA. It's all search and seizure money, fine money from court systems that's put in there. So it's redistributed to the states on a per capita level. So of course Arkansas loses out sometimes because we don't have the same type of population base that some of the larger states have.
Burns says the VOCA fund formula hasn't changed in over 30 years. With less money coming in, she hopes it'll be updated soon for fair distribution. Meanwhile, Washington County Prosecuting Attorney Brandon Carter says the county is making significant strides toward maximum efficiency. His comments reference the latest court backlog data his office shared with 5 News. It shows there are 1,100 felony cases have been filed since the start of this year. In that same time, they've been able to close 2,500 cases. The report further states Washington County is clearing cases at a 30% greater rate than in 2024 and 50% greater than 2023. And the city of Lincoln is getting more than $45,000 to repair its Head Start Child Development Building. It was damaged during a tornado in May. 5 News reporter Parker Abels got more information on the plans to fix the building for the dozens of families who rely on the program.
After the EF1 tornado that went through Lincoln, the city-owned Head Start building was forced to shut down. Mayor Doug Hutchins tells us that the money to fix the building comes from the Arkansas Municipal Property Program. He says that the city approved a bid repair with the lowest bid being nearly $71,000, a number he says the city will be able to pay. In the meantime, it's been a rough go for the Head Start program, which is operated by the Washington County Economic Opportunity Agency, which is currently out of the building.
Well, it's impacted 35 families in the Lincoln area because those children received services, they received meals, they received child development care, and we're a comprehensive child development and family program. So those families also were affected by our inability to provide services for them and their families.
Wright says she and her staff have been able to run the program through the elementary school.
We're able to still get the child development in, still working with parents on their needs. So services were temporarily disruptive for about a week, but that was it.
But that will change come August when the children are expected back, which means they need to get the damaged building fixed and open as soon as possible.
So parents are able to go to school or go to work. And if we're not in that building, then it puts a burden on everybody. And especially when we come back in August, we really would like to be in that building.
In Lincoln, covering news where you live, Parker Abels, 5 News.
The Economic Opportunity Agency of Washington County will begin taking applications for the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP, starting this coming Monday. LIHEAP provides assistance with electric bills for those needing help during the summer months. In Washington County last summer, LIHEAP helped more than 2,400 people avoid having their utilities shut off.
These bills are extremely high. Some of our elderly, do I eat? Do I pay my electric bill? Do I get my medicine? Do I pay my electric bill? They have these decisions to make. This program helps those decisions to be a little easier.
To apply, you must live in Washington County and meet income eligibility requirements. You can contact the EOA by phone to schedule an appointment, or you can go to our website, 5newsonline.com, to apply online and get all the information that you need. Well, the Three Choctaw Nation's annual Boom in the Valley fireworks show has been canceled after a fire broke out during the event's setup. 5 people were injured on the Capitol grounds while organizers were preparing for that fireworks show. The show was supposed to be tonight in Tuskahoma. Now an investigation is underway to determine the cause of the accident. And depending on the town, there could be fireworks restrictions this 4th of July. Some places, like the Buffalo River, outright ban them, with park services looking for violators and finding them. We have an interactive article on the restrictions near you on our website, 5newsonline.com. And there you can also find fireworks shows in the city you live in, both Northwest Arkansas and in the River Valley.